Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I'm Andrew Scaff. He's Mike Wormand. We're going to be talking about the NFL Week 3, NFL Week 4 preview, and also Dayton Moore's firing in Kansas City and the future of the Royals. But first, maybe which 2-0 team in the NFL had a more surprising loss last week, Mike?
There were a lot of surprises, I think. I think the Chiefs' loss to the Colts was surprising, particularly in the way that it happened, with really bad special teams play, not really good offensive play either. The defense played pretty well, other than that penalty that was called on Chris Jones, which seems maybe being an iffy penalty at best in the last drive. But it was very surprising with the Bills as well, losing to Miami. Miami has been really a good team so far this year. I'm of the opinion, I'm a little surprised that the Buccaneers lost in the way that they did, that their offense has just been so bad. So it was 14-12. They only held Green Bay to 14 points, but they could only muster 12 of their own. So I think maybe that loss in that fashion was the most surprising to me. I thought, again, partly because I bet on the game as being in higher scoring than it was. I was surprised that it was such a slog.
And not just the not being able to get off the 2-point conversion attempt before the shot clock expired. That cost him the game, right?
Yeah. it was a mess for both teams. Yeah, Green Bay. Yeah, neither team could really do much on offense. Yeah. Green Bay's, like, it seems like offenses across the league that a lot of the offenses that you think would be good are struggling this year. The Chiefs' offense has not been as strong as it was recently, as it was in recent years, I don't think. Perhaps because they have new receivers. Same thing for Green Bay. Tampa's offense has been struggling. You'd say the Rams' offense has been sputtering somewhat. We thought the Broncos' offense would be pretty good with Russell Wilson. It has been terrible.
They're in the same position as the Chiefs, 2-1.
Yeah. Somehow they're 2-1. They've played a very easy schedule. We could say so far. Mm-hmm. 2 home games, a very winnable game against Seattle on the road where they lost. But what surprised you? Which 2-0 team that lost surprised you? Was the Giants when they lost to the Cowboys?
Your Giants, right? I think that's how
my New York Giants. I thought
you said something almost positive about them once, so they became your Giants immediately at that point, right?
Yeah, I think they still have a outside shot at a wild card berth in the NFC, because the NFC is not that great. Although, there's winning, their teams winning games, so maybe the NFC is looking better than we gave it credit for.
The is the more surprising thing not one of the 2-0 teams losing, but possibly the Cowboys winning their second game after losing Dak Prescott for several weeks.
That's surprising. I think of the 2-1 teams, that's the most surprising. I think we'd have to go down to Florida and say it's the Jacksonville Jaguars at 2-1, especially the way they won their second game against the Chargers, who gave the Chiefs a real run for their money Thursday night last week. They just it was 28-10 Jaguars all the way. It was a thorough drubbing. Herbert didn't look very good, and maybe he's more injured than it seemed like he was at the end of the Chiefs game, when he was wincing quite a bit, but he could still make some good throws at the end of the game. Maybe he was just running on adrenaline at that point.
We have 38-10 loss at home to Jacksonville. That has to be surprising. But knowing that Herbert's injury, you can sort of excuse it, I think, a bit. Right?
Well, still allowing 38 points to Jacksonville, you think that the Chargers have a very good defense. So they look like they had a very strong defense against the Chiefs. But then letting Jacksonville, run wild. I think that's maybe been 24-10 or something like that. You could say, well, maybe, the defense didn't play terribly, but the offense just wasn't itself. 38 points is a lot of points.
Or is it just that one facet of the game not being playing to the level of their expectation just threw everything out, and the game just fell apart because of the offense sputtered with Herbert's injury?
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. We said, one of the problems that the Chargers have is that they don't have a home field, really. They don't have a home field advantage, so they don't really have a crowd that lifts them up, probably. They don't have a lot of, momentum that comes from playing at home. I guess the Jaguars really don't either. They don't have much of a following, although they might now, since they're looking pretty good so far this season. But
there apparently were 68,000 fans at the in LA for that game.
wow, okay. How many seats does SoFi have?
This capacity says 71.5.
So it wasn't quite a sellout.
Not quite, but very close.
But for the Chargers game, that's pretty good. Yeah, it looks like.
Or does this have nothing to do with the Chargers at all? And this was just Trevor Lawrence and Jacksonville's coming out party, basically.
I think it's still too early to say that, since this is a team that went 2-15 last year. I don't think they're that much different than they were the previous year. But I guess this is Trevor Lawrence's second year. Maybe you could say Urban Meyer was such a disaster that, maybe the team was not as bad as its record indicates. I guess we can probably say that. Few teams would be as bad as the Jaguars last year.
Or would you say that it's possible that Urban Meyer's planning has now paid off this season?
He laid a solid foundation for Doug Peterson to run with. We're all standing on the shoulders of giants, and maybe Doug Peterson is simply standing on Urban Meyer's gigantic Atlas-like shoulders.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that, but again,
One.
It's also 3 games into the season, and September is screwy, especially with teams treating the preseason much more lightly than they have in the past. September, in some ways, is going to be more unpredictable, wackier, and we don't really know what we have until a few weeks in.
But it only took 3 weeks for Doug Peterson to catch Urban Meyer in career wins for the Jacksonville Jaguars themselves.
And he is now tied for 5th out of I think 7 long-term head coaches, but coaches of the Jaguars, not including interim head coaches. There was an interim coach, Mel Tucker, in 2011, who also won 2 games. He was 2-3. Mike Mularkey was 2-14 in 2012. Urban Meyer was 2-11 in 2021. Well, I guess the Jaguars won 3 games last year because they won 1 game under Darrell Bevell as their interim coach. But yeah, Doug Peterson is 2-1. He is tied for 5th place all time among the Jacksonville coaches. He needs 12 wins to catch Gus Bradley for 4th place. You think he does that this year?
I'm gonna say no.
You don't think he leads the Jaguars to a 14-3 season?
Not likely.
I don't think so either, but
I don't know why he wouldn't do that next year, though. But
he is a Super Bowl winning coach, Doug Peterson.
It's true.
Former Chiefs assistant coach.
That's right.
When Andy Reid disciple.
Because he won with the Eagles, right?
He won with the Eagles.
With the Chiefs' former backup quarterback filling
Nick
in.
Foles.
Right?
Yeah, Nick Foles leading the team to victory. It was one of the more improbable Super Bowl ones, with Carson Wentz as the original starting quarterback. And now look at Carson Wentz on his 3rd team in 3 years. He has led the Commanders to a 1-2 record. but
He had a ton of passing yards the first couple of weeks.
yeah, he did. He's maybe come back to earth. But
He got sacked something like 9 times, I guess. Sunday, is that right?
yeah, the Eagles really took it to the Commanders there in their win. They're one teams now left in the league, and one in the NFC, one in the AFC. It's the Eagles and the Dolphins. Do you think those are the best 2 teams in the league right now?
I do not. But I think the Eagles may be one of the best, maybe the best team in the NFC. I think Miami still. I think they're basically one injury away from complete collapse. That's what my guess is. Yeah, I think the Eagles may actually be the best of the NFC.
They look pretty good. It's hard to say. It's still early. I tend to think that they will be surpassed by at least one of the Rams, Buccaneers, or Packers.
Yeah.
This year as the top NFC team. But Philadelphia is looking much better in the second year of the full-time starter Jalen Hurts.
I am partial to the former Big 12 quarterbacks, although he was only there for
a season. He was an Alabama quarterback. Prior to that,
I would still claim him as a Big 12 quarterback, though.
Okay, I can see it. Had his best season probably as with Oklahoma. Individual season, anyway, probably best team season. He won national championship in Alabama, but
right,
probably best individual season they had with Oklahoma. And his fellow Alabama quarterback to Tagovailoa is having an excellent season so far. Miami, the other 3-0 team. Do you think Miami? When do you think Miami loses its first game? Do they lose this week on the road to the Bengals? They're playing Thursday night against Cincinnati. Do you think they're gonna?
So that would be a bit of a potential letdown game for them after having just beaten the Bills in what may have been the game of the week. This in week 3, because that was a pretty exciting finish. The two did get banged up a bit at the end of the game. May have had a head injury or back injury.
Yeah, they said he didn't have a concussion, but it looked like maybe he did. It was hard to say. He came back in though, so maybe he was just. It wasn't his head
that was one where they the same sort of thing happened with Mahomes in a game 2 years ago, I think. And he wasn't allowed to continue to play because they entered concussion protocols, and they didn't seem to do that with Tua this week. But I think the Players Association the union has asked for them to look into that, but I haven't heard if there's been a result from that yet.
Yeah, so I guess he passed the concussion tests, but usually it seems like those tests take a much longer time to run nowadays than they do just count. How many fingers do I have? Who's the president? What day of the week is it? It's more comprehensive than it was, and so it seems like maybe he didn't really get that comprehensive battery that other quarterbacks, other players are getting nowadays.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it went, but
we haven't mentioned the funniest incident in that game, which was the punt off of the Miami punting off of one of its own players' butts to lead to a safety and to maybe put the game in doubt towards the end with the 21-19 with the 21-19 win. What did you think of that play?
Well, I thought it was entertaining that the announcers had talked about just taking the safety just to not have to even deal with the punt. And they, essentially had that result of having run the play in a very odd manner, but the result ended up being the same. And now getting to be talked about nationally repeatedly.
Yeah, they didn't have very much time left. Yeah, so it seems like that.
The butt punt. Ooh, I just taking a look at the Miami's schedule, and there's not a lot on here that's challenging. Their next series of games at Bengals this week, maybe their most difficult game they have coming up.
Okay.
At Jets, the Vikings and Steelers at home, at Lions, at Bears, Browns and Texans at home,
And then we get a tougher schedule, looks like.
at 49ers, at Chargers, at Bills. They
Home
may
against
not,
the Packers.
they may not lose until they get into that sequence. They could go into that 11 and they could be 11-0 and then drop 4 of the next 5 games.
Yeah, I could see that. I think I think the Bengals are still a good team, and I think they're figuring it out. I think on a short week, I think the Bengals have a good shot at beating the Dolphins. I think the Bengals really need this game much more than Miami does. I think
That's true.
they don't want to be 1-3, and
Miami's coming off that tough win against who was expected to be the Super Bowl favorite preseason, at least anyway.
yeah, it might be a letdown game. You know, the Bengals have a not that difficult schedule, somewhat more, I'd say more difficult schedule coming up than the Dolphins do. So I think they really need the Dolphins game because they're going to the Ravens, at New Orleans, easier game, home against the Falcons, maybe at the Browns, home against the Panthers. So they have maybe an easier stretch coming up in the middle of the season, but they have next 2 games are going to be tough for them, I think. So I think Thursday is a big game for the Bengals too. If they want to solidify themselves as somebody in playoff contention, being 1-3 and then possibly 1-4 after going to see the Ravens, that's going to be a tough hill to climb.
So how did we fare in our betting competition from week 3?
Well, you improved and I stayed the same, which leads to 1 and 2 finishes. The one I was successful on was the Detroit Lions Minnesota Vikings game. I believe it was 53.5 was the over under. I picked the under. It ended up being 28-24 Vikings. So they just barely stayed under, but it was under. That's all it has to do is barely stay under. And so I won that one. And
just so you know, there were 3 missed field goals in that game.
there've been a lot of missed field goals this season. It seems like maybe it's just from watching the Chiefs. I think they've missed a kick every game so far.
Yeah, they but with only but Butker has not missed a kick yet.
Butker has not missed a kick, but Justin Reed missed an extra point. Amendola missed an extra point against the Chargers. He missed one against the Colts. He also missed a field goal against the Colts. And because he was missing those kicks, the Chiefs ran an ill-advised fake field goal on, I think, 4th and 12 or something like that. You know, that's tough to get 12 yards on a fake. You know, if it's 4th and 4, 4th and 5, all right, run a fake. But yeah, that was the Chiefs were kind of put in a hard place with Amendola without Butker. I think they really need to get Butker back.
It almost seemed like they maybe should have considered using Justin Reed on kickoffs too, just because he could actually kick it into the end zone, get the touchback, because Amendola wasn't even getting it to the end zone line, let alone through the end zone, which is what we've come to expect from the kickoffs anyway.
Yeah, maybe they should have. I don't know. I guess they want Justin Reed to concentrate on being a safety rather than kicking, but probably kicking off doesn't take that much concentration off the defense, especially because you're a defensive player as a kickoff man because you're playing defense against the kick return,
Hmm.
and so then you just be on the field the next snap. Maybe, especially given the fact that special teams has kind of struggled, maybe having a better player on special teams could be good. Again, you don't want to risk injuries and things like that, but the Chiefs special teams has left much to be desired this year. And the Chiefs special teams perhaps cost you a chance at sweeping your Chiefs bets
Yes.
this week.
Amendola was released from the practice squad yesterday, apparently.
Okay.
So he
So the Chiefs
will
are
not be
either
back.
so they'll go with Reed.
I don't know. They've said yet. They may be holding another. So yeah, either Butker is ready to come back, or they'll be hosting another. What was the
6-man kicker derby.
I knew you were gonna have that ready, so
yes.
I couldn't quite remember what it was. Was it a Royal Rumble of kickers?
Kicker,
No, that wasn't
kicker. I
right.
wonder if they're all kicking at the same time into trying. It's like when basketball teams warm up before the game when they're all shooting like 9 basketballs at a single
Right.
hoop, whether they're all kicking at the same goalposts at the same time,
Right.
balls knocking into each other and things like that. I hope that's what happened.
That'd be just the chaos that you would like to see in pregame, right?
Yeah. I yeah. So what you won on your over under bet?
I did.
Indianapolis.
There was over under 49. It was not close. There's only, well, not very close anyway. 37 was the total.
Finished well under.
So not at risk really for that. Falling on the over for a bad beat or something, right? But yes, did not perform well in the Chiefs minus 6.5. Nowhere close to that. Didn't cover, did not win. So,
yeah, apparently 91% of the money was on the Chiefs.
Is that right?
In the game, and so the sports books really cleaned up on that one. They must know something we didn't.
Or
you're suspecting something nefarious, and
the flag on Chris Jones seems like a good spot to influence that.
Yeah, likely that wouldn't have affected the spread any, but the Chiefs probably would have won by 4 had they taken the ball. They probably would have just kneeled down and got the victory that way. But still,
there's plenty of time left when that happened, though.
Yeah, that was an iffy flag. For sure, at best, an iffy flag. Seems like something they wouldn't call. But it seems like the Chiefs get called on that sort of thing a lot. Chris Jones in the Super Bowl was talking to Tom Brady and got a personal foul call as well. So it seems like when Jones argues with an older white quarterback, flags get thrown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was just over 5 minutes left when that happened.
So my other 2 bets were less successful. We talked a little bit about the Green Bay Tampa Bay game. That was a 42 over under. I went over on that. I thought, 2 offenses led by 2 of the all-time great quarterbacks, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. That's going to be at least a 24-21 game, you think? Touchdowns scored on both sides, but nowhere close to that. It seems like neither team has too many receiving options at this point. Rodgers is really missing Devontae Adams, and Brady is missing many of his top weapons on offense too. That are even if they're playing, they're kind of in not terribly great shape right now. So yeah, that was an under all the way. And my other game was another one we mentioned, the debacle. I thought, there's no way. Yeah, Chargers are going to lose at home to lowly Jacksonville. Justin Herbert looks like he's playing. We think that the Chargers want to bounce back after their tough loss to the Chiefs. They've had 10 days to recover. So Chiefs by the Chargers by 7. It's a high spread, but not that high. You think maybe the Jaguars are simply riding high after the victory against the Colts. They aren't really that good, and Oh well, it turned out to be a disaster. It was a I was off by 35 points on that
Only
spread.
by 35.
They lost 38-10. So there was I could have, yeah, Jacksonville plus 28 rather than or Jacksonville minus 28 rather than plus 7 in that game.
Right. Yeah, if you'd have seen that line of Jacksonville minus 28, you would have taken the Chargers on that every time, right?
Well, I wouldn't have lost. I would have simply pushed today.
Bro.
27, I get 27 and a half. Yeah, I would have definitely, yeah, that would have been, I would have wondered why that was the case, but it was a really big drubbing. I think this was a week where many bettors were flummoxed by the results, and the sports books were very happy to rake in the cash, and that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How about your third bet? Your non-Chiefs bet.
Yes, my third bet was I had the Houston Chicago game with the under of 40.5. And they got to the 40 by the end of the third quarter. So I had to hope for a scoreless fourth and then end in a tie.
And scoreless overtime, which has happened already to the Texans this year. They and it was the exact same score, 20-20, when they lost, where they tied the Colts in week 1. So it's possible. Neither team has a very good offense, but the under was slightly too low, and that was a close one.
And then so the Bears ended up kicking a field goal as regulation expired. To ruin my chance at a winning week, Mike. So they did it to me personally, is what I think.
You would have had a winning week. It would have really picked you up after last week's all losing week.
Ugh.
But still, I am the model of consistency, going 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. So I'm steadily losing $100 a week.
Yes.
And now I'm minus 300 for the season.
And I'm only 100 behind you, I guess, minus, right?
You're minus 500. You're 1-2, 0-3, and then 1-2. So you're still minus 500.
That's true. No, yes. Right. You're
2-6 so far.
2 wins and 7 losses, right?
2-7. You're 2-7 so far. 2-7. I'm 3-6. We're both
gotta improve that.
Yeah. So if our viewers were watching us, if they are going against our picks, they're sitting pretty on the year.
Raking in the cash.
We are.
Betting against us.
They'd be a model of a professional gambler. They could really take it to the bank. Maybe this week we'll turn it around though, and we will be the ones laughing all the way to the bank.
There we go.
For the proverbial bank, proverbially laughing.
Actually, I should ask you: Did you enjoy the final score of the Broncos 49ers game though? The
11-10 game.
It
was sad, and they lost because of that bad safety that Jimmy Garoppolo took when he accidentally ran out of the end zone running away.
I thought it was not nearly as bad as the Dan Orlovsky.
Oh, they played that Dan Orlovsky one a lot when he just was fleeing from a would-be pass rusher and just didn't apparently remember he was in the end zone and just kind of ran backwards.
Well out of the back of the end zone, yards out of the back, and many steps out of the back.
Well, Garoppolo I think we can say is a better quarterback than Orlovsky was in the NFL. But yeah, that was 11-10. The Broncos somehow are 2-1 on the year, despite all sorts of bad play, bad coaching, and they've been able to eke out 2 wins.
But it's the only mustering 21 points in the game for those two teams combined. So falling 24 points under the over-under line for that game. Is that more surprising than the Jacksonville 35-point differential?
No, I think the Jacksonville win by 4 touchdowns is more surprising. I think we saw 2 weeks into the season, the Broncos offense hasn't been very good. And the 49ers offense has the capability of also producing a lot of low scoring games. So maybe that shouldn't have been as big a surprise. Maybe 11-10 was a surprise, but going under the 45, I think, was a was a bet that we should have taken.
I was hoping for the 7-5 final though. That was my
7-5, yeah.
my hope.
Still a sort of high scoring baseball game.
Right.
The Royals and the Mariners outscored each of those teams winning their 13-12 game a few days ago. So speaking of the Royals, what do you think of the dismissal of team president, longtime general manager Dayton Moore, the architect of 2 World Series teams, 2 pennants, 1 championship, unceremoniously dumped before the end of the season? What do you think of that, Andrew?
Well, it's not like it came down to maybe a couple of different factors. One of which being the team wanting to use more, team and owner especially wanting to use more analytics in baseball. Dayton Moore was pretty opposed to analytics. I guess is how they structured the franchise, and also in how they've chosen managers, especially of recent. The most recent managers have been very anti-data, more of the go with the gut mentality all the time. I guess Dayton Moore was opposed to the idea of the downtown stadium for the team too, and it sounds like Sherman is very much in favor of a downtown stadium, and that may have also been a factor in the release. Personally, I think it was a long time coming to have Dayton Moore removed. It's been too many years of not very good performance, seemingly focusing on things that have nothing to do with baseball as the primary factor and who they go after for players.
Do you think the team
necessary
was embarrassed by the number of players who were ineligible to play in Canada this year because of COVID-19 refusal to get COVID-19 vaccination? The Royals had 10 players who were unable to make the trip to Canada, far more than any other team, it seemed like.
So I think that Dayton Moore's philosophy led to that directly. So if I don't think Dayton Moore didn't seem happy with that, even though it seems like that was the kind of personality type that he was fostering, going after in player personalities, at least anyway, that mentality was going to be likely to not get vaccinated, I think. But Sherman may not have been terribly happy with that result, but I think it made the season a little more interesting, knowing that the Royals weren't in very good position to bring up all those young players to see what we had in the minor league system. We may have exhausted the minor league system at the same time, as now we have one of the lowest rated minor league systems.
Yeah, they called up all the players that were nearly ready, and it seems like the minor league players or the new players have played pretty well, or at least not any worse than the players that they replaced. And so it seems like there's some room for improvement there. There are some, Pasquantino has played well. Massey has been a pretty good player. Surprisingly, I don't think he was really on the radar of anyone compared to some of those other prospects. Melendez has played relatively well. That they've bounced him around all sorts of positions. There have been some. This has been the year that Brady Singer has really some little bright spots. I think the team isn't going to lose 100 games. We know that now. As we're taping this episode, they did just lose to the Tigers 4-3 in extra innings. They had 3-0 in the ninth, and that might be a key loss in determining whether or not our bet of the over under 66.5 wins will fall into place. They're now 63-91. They have 8 games left. They need to go 4-4 in their last 8 for me to win the bet and to have a 67-95 team. They, if they win any fewer than 4 games, Dr. Scaff will be the winner on the over under of 66.5. Would you rather the Royals win out and you lose your bet, or would you rather win the bet and the Royals lose enough games for you to win?
I mean, I apparently am not very concerned about winning bets in this in our competition right now. I'd much prefer the team to win. I mean, I'm always going to be a Royals fan. I'd rather them win. This is just more about expectation, I think, than what I have. Anything else is keeping expectations low and hoping they exceed them, even if it costs me a thing I said. Who cares?
A fake $100 or what?
But yeah, are you disappointed in the fact that the Royals lost the game today? With the term that you coined, the bequeathed runner would have been the one that scored. The runner placed at second base in extras to try to speed the end of the game along.
They got rid of that for next year, right?
Did they? I don't know if they did.
I'll look it up.
They should because it's ridiculous that they have that. It's like playing a different game in extra innings. It's like penalty kicks and soccer, hockey, or it seems like the NBA should institute a free throw shooting contest if the game ends regulation in a tie. That seems like it'd be better for that sport as well, right?
Yeah.
Or would you like to see a home run derby in extra innings for baseball? I
just want them to keep playing forever. I like the long extra inning games. I think the Ghost Runner.
Very random to have a game go like really long, really deep into extras. It's not happening all the time, so it doesn't throw off their statistics about the average game time by having one game go to like 16, 17 innings.
Yeah, I haven't seen if the Ghost Runner is going to stick around or not. I'm looking at it right now.
I think I don't remember seeing that as one of the official rule changes. Maybe they've considered it. I think it's still here for now. Because the most recent announcement they had about rule changes just had the size of the bases, the positioning of the infielders, 2 on each side of the second base bag, and the pitch clocks. I think those were the rule changes. I think they were voted on and approved at the last meeting just a few months ago or a month ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there still is going to be the
bequeathed runner. I think is still a thing.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I think I don't think it really slows. I don't really think it speeds the game up that much, and I don't think it's anything that it messes. I think it messes with the statistics and things like that. So, but I haven't seen any real things that say they're definitely going to keep it. It hasn't changed yet, so it's possible.
I think it could be changed. I don't know that it's officially announced that it's been changed, at least anyway.
Yeah, I see it in that it seems like earlier this month they're expecting to get rid of the Ghost Runner next year. They kept it for COVID, I think, partly, but I don't. Yeah, I don't.
But the Royals pitcher Masevich ends up taking the loss then, but is credited with a run allowed, but it doesn't count as earned. So it seems like weird for his personal stats probably look worse now as a whole since he takes that loss for a
Mhm.
run that he didn't put on there.
Yeah,
Didn't
I don't think that's fair. I think it's why not put it, why do it for extra reason? Why not put it on the ninth? I see it as a I think they are keeping it from what I've seen. It seems like they haven't taken it away. They're going to keep it, and I think that's a dumb rule. I think that's one of the dumbest of the rules that they could have put in place. The rando base runner on second, and if you want to win I guess if you want, if it's this, if you want to win the game, score a run the real way. And I think when the like it used to be by banning the shift, making the teams speed up and play more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, well, why are we including this new big ghost runner that really I don't think anybody likes.
It really doesn't make sense, especially in a sport that's driven by as many statistics as there are built around baseball. It really can't be justified.
Back to the Royals. Do you think JJ Piccolo is going to do any better than Dayton Moore on his own?
I think the bar is actually fairly low. I mean, for like, yeah, what do you consider better? Does he have to go to 2 World Series? Does he have to win a World Series, or does he just have to outperform Dayton Moore's last 5 or 6 seasons?
I think if he makes the team competitive, that will be outperforming Dayton Moore. Moore had about a 5-year run in the middle where the team was pretty good, and that included the 2 World Series and probably the year, maybe the couple years before, a couple years after, maybe almost 6 years of a team that was pretty competitive. All the other years, though, they were pretty far under 500 each of the years, if I recall correctly. So he had a peak, but it took a very long time to get to that peak, and it seems like it's taking a very long time, or would take him a very long time to get to that peak again. And so maybe we want somebody, maybe who's going to have a less high peak, but a higher floor, less of a trough, and
Right.
maybe Piccolo could do that.
I mean that's a pretty low bar really for expectations. I think, and it seems like that's should be more than achievable. But he was the player development guy for the organization for a long period of time, and as of now, the Royals minor league system is one of the lowest rated minor league systems in all of baseball. So
They
it
did
may
call
be
up a lot of players, though.
relatively difficult to get to that.
Sometimes a few good drafts change those things. And if the
not with the way the Royals have tended to draft though.
maybe things will be different under Piccolo. It's hard to say.
It seems like they made, in my opinion at least, they would need to do more house cleaning to really make, if they think that Dayton Moore was the actual problem, then most of the people that he hired would also be part of the problem, and they would need to clean out the coaching staff, a lot of the front office as well, just to reset. But making only one change, I don't know if they're going to get any difference, especially if Matheny's still managing the team, because you can be not the most talented team on the field. If you can play smarter than the other team, you might win some extra games. They're not going to do that with Matheny.
But is Piccolo maybe going to make those changes in the offseason? Is that why they hired him?
And I think that'll signal how the team's going to develop from here out. If there aren't changes in the coaching staff, then I don't know how it's going to be anything other than more of the same. We'll just have to see how things progress once the season ends. If it goes more than a week or two after the season's over without any announcement of coach assignments, then I'm keeping my expectations extremely low for the team for the future. What do you think about that?
I think that makes sense. I don't think Matheny is a great manager. I don't think he handles the bullpen very well. I don't think he the team has not done very well under his watch, and so I think the pitching has been particularly I think the hitting hasn't been great either. But usually,
And they fired the hitting coach during the season as seemingly being the what was at least assigned blame for the problem in the early
yeah,
part of the year.
he's only coached the team 3 years, managed the team 3 years. They were pretty decent, albeit in a very, very short season in 2020 under Matheny, 26-34. They were 74-88 last year, 63-90 so far. They're 63-91 now so far this year. He has regressed this year. I think he gets one more year. He was a winning manager most of the time in St. Louis.
But was fired for his bullpen usage. Was so you'd think that maybe if you get fired for something specifically, that when you get a new job, the one thing you would try to change would be the thing that you got fired for. And
Yeah, I don't.
It seems like he's amplified his stupidity in how he manages the bullpen. And I know he manages injuries too. So I think Sal Perez had something that he was supposed to be out for at least a couple of weeks, and they rushed him back after like maybe one. And then he ended up missing like 2 or 3 weeks later because he re-aggravated that injury that wasn't allowed to heal. And that's something that managers got to be able to tell a player that he has to sit down for a bit, even if he wants to play. And it doesn't seem like he's willing to do that.
Yeah, I think he could be gone. I think also they could give him one more year and see what happens. But maybe with the Moore firing before the season is over, this was a signal that they're going to give Piccolo a little bit more power to do things in the offseason rather than just taking over in the offseason. So I wouldn't be surprised to see coaching managerial changes. And yeah, I'm not terribly optimistic about the Royals' immediate future, but I am still kind of basking in the 2015 World Series and the 2014 pennant run, partly because maybe I'm getting older. Time flies more quickly. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago when the Royals were very good. So maybe 2 or 3 more years, I'll change my tune. But I'm still basking in the World Series success.
Well, and you can see by the shirt that I'm wearing that I'm still a Royals fan, despite their losing ways. Will continue to wear my Royals apparel regularly.
Well, we'll tune in next week, and we'll see. We'll have a closer idea about how the Royals are going to finish up their season, and we, I don't know if we'll know anything more in a week, maybe 2 weeks. We'll see what happens in the off season. Usually, managerial changes or non-changes are signaled very, very early after the season is over to maximize the time in which you can find a new guy or at least cement the old guy further into place. So it's one thing to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. But yeah, they have 2 games left against Detroit, and then 6 more against Cleveland.
Cleveland has won despite having one of the lowest payrolls and one of the youngest rosters in the game, has won the division title again. Maybe Cleveland lets its foot off the gas a little bit in the final series against the Royals, just looking to stay healthy before entering the playoffs.
So maybe their seed is already locked, even now with still 8 games to go.
Yeah, they can't catch the Yankees. They aren't going to
solidly in that 3 seed.
Yeah, aren't going to catch the Astros. So should we move on and talk about this week's football games in our new?
Do you have your picks locked in?
I do have my picks. Well, yeah, I think they're locked in. So I'm looking for. If I go 3-0, I'll be 500 on the year, and I'll have broken even. So that could bode well for a new start. but I'm
Big
not.
strategy change this time from last week, or you gonna stick with strategy the teams or who failed you in your previous bets from the last week? Slight
Well,
tweak or major adjustment for this week for you?
I decided. I think it's more of a slight tweak rather than a major adjustment. I figured that last week was a week that everybody took a bath, and I don't want to let that get to me too much, and so I'm just looking at the games that I think will be decided differently from what the spread indicates. I didn't go with any over unders because I'm a little frightened of the over under right now, given the fact that some scores have been so low, and I don't know if that's going to be a trend that continues this year or not. But
I like that you just said that, because my strategy for this week is going to be playing on that that you are not correct on what you just said. Because I'm going to be betting all over unders.
You're all over unders, okay?
Yeah.
And you're going okay.
And,
So
I'm going to be taking all overs because there were too many unders last time. It can't continue, Mike.
What goes up must come down, or what goes down must go up. So my first, again, also probably going against what I usually go against. What I usually do is I'm betting on the Raiders this week as my first bet. The Raiders are favored by 2.5 at home in Las Vegas against the Denver Broncos. The Broncos somehow are 2-1 on the year. The Raiders are 0-3. Both teams seem like they have bad head coaches right now. Neither team is playing particularly well. Neither coach is coaching particularly well. I would say maybe these are two of the worst coaches in the league going up against each other right now. But I still like the Raiders in this game. I think they bounce back. I don't think they're going 0-4. This is a divisional opponent. They need this game to win. I think, again, the Broncos are 2-1, but I think they're really a very weak 2-1. And going on the road to Las Vegas, I think the Raiders are going to win this game. So 2.5, I think the Raiders will win. And I think 2.5 is, if the Raiders win by field goal, they'll cover me. So I think I feel somewhat safe going with the Raiders.
Is the bet influenced by the fact that would help the Chiefs the most, then possibly too?
Yes, that would. You see, the Raiders. I guess the Broncos are currently tied for first place in the AFC West with the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs win and the Broncos lose, the Chiefs will be in sole position in first place. And it doesn't really matter who's in first place after week 4, but
it does not. It doesn't. Wait, what?
But I think we all thought going in the AFC West had 4 pretty good teams, and the Raiders have nothing to show for it yet. I don't think the Broncos haven't. I don't know if they've played any better than the Raiders. Their defense maybe has played pretty well, but offensively they've been bad. And I think it comes back to bite them this time. So I'm hoping for the Raiders at -2.5.
That's a tough phrase for a Chiefs fan to say. Hoping for the Raiders. That seems,
well, rooting for the Broncos isn't much of a you don't hear that often from Chiefs fans either. So
no.
This is one of those games where these are probably the 2 most hated rivals of the Chiefs. At least historically hated rivals. Maybe right now you would say, the Bengals or the Bills or something like that are bigger rivals right now. But
they're at least bigger threats anyway.
Bigger threats, yeah.
Well, maybe not rivals, but definitely threats. But it seems like that might be a game you'd want to take Denver at +2.5, and then hope that neither team wins. It ends in a tie.
I'm not going to bet any game looking for a tie. I think that's probably not a way to go.
But I mean, as a Chiefs fan, then the best scenario for those 2 teams is that neither of them win. But you could take a bet that if that scenario happens, then you win all 3 times. You'd win thrice on that's on a personal level twice, and then on your bet once.
Yeah, that's well. If you want to play that way, that's fine. I'm not I'm not going that way. I'm not. I'm trying to not bet as a Chiefs fan. I'm because I think that colors my judgment. So I would bet on Chiefs every time if I really bet as a fan. So I like the yeah. So I'm I'm just looking at the numbers here. I'm trying to be very mathematical. I think I like the Raiders at home. What's your first bet pick this week?
So
It's an over under, we know.
I think I'm going back to my only successful bets have been by doing what you don't like to do by betting, on or around the Chiefs themselves. I do like the Chiefs Tampa, even though we don't necessarily know where it's being played
Yeah, it could be Tampa,
today.
could be Miami, could be Minneapolis. I've heard Gillette Stadium is mentioned as well. I've heard Arrowhead even, but it's going to be played somewhere. It might not even be played Sunday night. Maybe played Monday or Tuesday.
That could be interesting too. But the over under on that game is 45. And I've already said I'm taking overs this week. I think that seems very achievable for the quality of quarterbacks in this game. Defenses are both pretty decent, so that may make it a little tougher. There could be some defensive scores though that could lead to additional points. I do like the over in that game though.
Yeah, you think with Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, there's going to be a fairly high scoring game. 28-21 at least. That's over. Even if given the history of the two teams this year, they've both the offenses have both been struggling, but it seems like probably they're due. Each one is due for a little bit of a bounce back. The receivers are probably getting a little more healthy for Brady, and maybe with the hurricane, you think the Tampa might want to be inspired to play a little better, and do you think that the Chiefs want to bounce back after two kind of lackluster offensive weeks?
Mhm.
So I don't dislike that bet at all.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think either team particularly likes each other anyway, too. So they may have some extra motivation to go after that for the Super Bowl rematch, right, from a few years ago.
Definitely want to win this game. They probably take it personally, given the fact that were beaten so handily in the Super Bowl by the Buccaneers. You want to go to my second bet?
Sure.
These look like bets that Rubes would make. I'm basically betting on the most famous teams for first. So I bet on the Raiders -2.5, and I'm also betting on the Cowboys -3 at home, hosting the Washington Commanders. I think the Cowboys have been pretty good under Cooper Rush. They knocked off the undefeated juggernaut that was the New York Giants at home in MetLife Stadium. So I think the Cowboys are kind of on a roll. They're staying healthy. Other than Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard have both been pretty good in the backfield. CeeDee Lamb had a big game.
That was a
Despite
pretty fantastic catch. He had that one-handed grab.
Yeah, he had a great one-handed catch. He dropped an easy one, but he made a very difficult one. So, and it's only 3 points. It's low. It's really saying that the Cowboys and Cowboys and Commanders. So I'm getting these euphemistic
the
teams. The commies are evenly matched. I think Washington played pretty well. They played. It seems like maybe they played very well since they beat Jacksonville, a new powerhouse. It seems like in week 1, but they got rolled by the Eagles at home. Carson Wentz maybe is just Carson Wentz, and so yeah, I like the Cowboys to win. So -3 isn't too much. I don't think too.
And that is at home too, right?
Yeah, it's in Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah. So my second pick, I like the offensive potential from the Jacksonville Philly Eagles game. Both have had pretty impressive starts to the year offensively. Over under on that game is 48 points. I think that also seems to be very achievable. So I'm taking the over in that game.
Yeah, Philly scored a lot of points in at least two out of their 3 games. Jacksonville, the same. So that could be a high scoring game.
Yeah, I don't think the either team's defense is as stout as some of the other more notable defensive teams at least. So I really think that game could get turn into a shootout type of play.
I think that's possible. I think that's possible. I don't think that's a bad. It's in Philadelphia. The Eagles are probably going to be pretty good at home. Jacksonville is played pretty well on the road last week, so maybe they can keep that up this week. And it's also I think the weather's supposed to be decent, so it's not like it's Philadelphia in November or December for a Florida team to play in. So yeah, I could see that. I think I could see that going over. With Jalen Hurts and Trevor Lawrence have both had very good starts to their season. Maybe looking to join the upper echelon of young quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that may be. I think it really could be an entertaining game to watch if it's available to check in on. It probably is not, though. I'm assuming going to be in my region at least, anyway.
I'll check out the coverage map for 506 Sports. That's what I usually look at. Yeah, I might be able to watch it in my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Philadelphia at Washington. If you lived in Wichita, you would be able to catch the game, Andrew. So if you take the trip down to Wichita, you can go.
I think that's a hard pass, Mike. I don't see that in my future.
Okay.
Yeah. How about your third pick for this week, Mike?
My third pick is one of the later games. It's the Monday night game, I believe, and that is going to be the Rams at the 49ers. The 49ers are actually favored by 2.5 at home. I like the Rams in this game. I think the Rams will win. I think the Rams are a better team than the 49ers. I think the 49ers offense isn't that great right now, even with Garoppolo. Again, they were only able to muster 10 points against Denver. And, historically, I think Kyle Shanahan has had Sean McVay's number a lot of the time, but I think the Rams are, the Super Bowl champions last year. I think they're right now a better team than the 49ers. So I think they'll win, and it's only 2.5. So I think I might as well go with the Rams on that one.
Interesting. I think their offense is going to fall in sync this time.
Well, I think so. I think Kupp is still there. I think the running game is starting to be a little bit better. Akers is playing a little bit more. Henderson's still a pretty good running back. I think I think Stafford might be feeling a bit better as the season goes on. So I like the Rams to win. So I think 2.5 isn't very much to bet to worry about. So I think it might be a fairly close game, but if I can if the Rams win by a field goal, I win. So I would have guessed probably that the Rams would have been favored over San Francisco.
Yeah.
Just looking at it, but that was something that drew me to that game. I would say the Rams are a better team right now. So, and I don't think the home field advantage matters that much in San Francisco right now, given the fact that the team's been kind of up and down. I guess they'll support Garoppolo, but it's a home field advantage depending on if the weather is windy and things like that. But this early in the season, I think the weather is actually going to be good. So I was looking somewhat at the weather forecasts
Really?
of the games, and if as long as the weather wasn't supposed to be too crazy, I yeah, I like the Rams.
I think my third pick, I'm gonna look at this Bills Ravens game. I really have no idea who's going to win this one. Buffalo's favored by 3 is all at Baltimore, but I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of points scored in this one. So it is a relatively high over/under number 52, but I think one team's probably going to score a lot of points. I don't know
Yeah,
what it is. Ravens have been giving up a lot of points on defense, so
they have. They won the last game 36-27 against New England. They was a 42-38 against
it was basically a shootout
Miami.
against Miami.
Shootout.
And they it was the 37. 24-9 was the first week against the Jets. So
Yeah, low scoring against the Jets. But
they
Buffalo
still
was
put,
also
put 24 up, but the Jets offense is not very impressive.
yeah, a 28-24 would get you to 52. And I think I could see that game being much higher scoring than 28-24.
At least one of the teams is going to be in the 30s. So it's just if the other defense, like one of the defenses holds up well, it could be a kind of a blowout, but it's still, I think it's still going to get up around that 52. So I'm going to around that one.
I think all of your bets make sense. I'm just shying away from the overs and unders right now, given how screwy some of these scores have been lately. But
not predictable.
Maybe just leaning into it and going over is the way to go. I'm trying to stick with the teams I think that will win. I went with closer spreads this time than I have some of the times the last couple of weeks. One week I went with all the -10 spreads. This week my biggest margin is the Cowboys at -3, so everything within a field goal here. So I'm really just picking the teams I think that will win some of the close spread games.
And typically, if a team wins, they're going to win by at least a field goal. Usually. None of that seems crazy at all. But I'm not sure that I know who's going to win a game right now at all. With Jacksonville, Dallas winning games without their actual quarterback. Surprisingly, I really have no idea who's going to win games. Seems like some teams have to score some points eventually. It's bound to happen.
This NFL season has been very unpredictable so far, and at least it's been unpredictable for me, and you. We haven't been able to.
Even less predictable for me, apparently.
And these are the games that we're picking are the ones we think we're most confident in. So that goes to show that maybe you should not be a gambler if you don't feel like losing money.
That's why I have not opened my account yet at any of the sports books that have opened in Kansas yet.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to bet anything until I can be consistently near 500 or above 500. I think it's.
Yeah. Would you look at just a recency bias? Like if you went 3-0 this week, would you go make a bet next week? Or would you have to get your season average over 500 before you consider it? How much statistical relevance do you need before you're willing to go to the window?
I'd like to go for a whole season and then see how I'm doing. I can't see myself making a real bet this year.
Not even a $5 bet?
Maybe that low. Yeah.
No betting at all.
Yeah.
No.
It's only not $100. I wouldn't be betting that much.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. But I would like to make some bets. I think it seems entertaining. It gives a reason to root for teams that aren't necessarily games you might not even watch for at least had a rooting interest in anyway, right?
Yeah. Well, I am betting that this week will be another exciting week of NFL football. How about that?
Perfect.
That's about the wussiest bet anyone could make. I'm betting that both teams have fun.
There we go.
With that, do you want to should we wrap it up?
Sure.
Well, this has been another exciting week of the Morning Truck Power Hour, talking about all things NFL and some things Royals. And we will see you back next week, and we will review our picks from this week and make more picks for week 5. Until then, I am Dr. Mike Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the Morning Trek Power Hour. Please like and or subscribe to our podcasts, which is available on many platforms, including YouTube and all the different ways you might want to listen to podcasts. And we thank you for for listening, and we hope to see you again next week at the same time. Good day.